The Aprilia Racing Series comes to the beautiful coastal circuit of Anglesey for round 7 of the series. All eyes are on championship contenders Zach Corduroy and David Allingham to cement their titles. This is the Aprilia Challenge.
Well, as you can see from the weather, this place tends to be heaven or hell. It's either very, very nice or pretty appalling. Well, this morning we've got a lot of sea mist out on circuit ready for the Aprilia 125s and the Aprilia 450s. And the story really is, as we're here in pit lane, these wonderful new pits that have been created from Anglesey, is about the two championship leaders. And it's a strange one because Zach Corduroy in the Aprilia Super Team Championship, he's got a handsome lead, but he's going for slightly different tactics in his championship compared to someone like David Allingham in the 450s. Now, David, despite the fact that he can actually win the championship here this weekend, has gone for the sort of tactic of, I'm just not going to change my tactics at all. I'm going to keep on going out there. I'm going to try and get the wins to try and wrap up the championship here and now, whereas Zach's camp, just down the road, look out for him, number 22 in the Aprilia Super Teens, they're going for a slightly cautious approach. He's just trying to stay on the saddle, pick up a few seconds and thirds. If he can fight for the win, then he will do. But the talk really is about number 11, David Allingham, here today. He can win the championship if a few results go his way. Unfortunately for him, Ross Twyman is back to winning ways. But I suppose the big bad news from the pit lane is about Lewis Rollo. Unfortunately, Lewis crashed in free practice. He's busted a couple of ribs, punctured a lung. We send our best to him. But all eyes on number 11 and number 22.
Well, here we go then, first up onto the grid of the Aprilia Super Teams, and as I mentioned, the championship leader, Zach Corduroy, under a bit of pressure from that man there, who was doing a bit of a Hercules impression, Bradley Peary, who picked up a couple of wins here yesterday. Charlie Nesbitt there, number 86, leading the Nitro Newcomer Championship, second on the grid. There is Zach Corduroy, number 22. And then Joe Thompson, fourth on the grid. Nice to see Joe doing so well here this weekend. The rider from Selby on the Thompson's Aprilia, having the best weekend of his young career so far. Bradley Peary then has picked up 2 wins. He closed the gap in the championship. Corduroy could just go on and finish second in every one of our remaining races and still be crowned champion. But as I said, he's just aiming to stay on the saddle. It'll be interesting to see what happens as this race unfolds. As you can see from the skies, we've got a lot of sea mist coming in. We're right on the edge of the coast here. So hopefully it won't cause any problems. We did get off to a bit of a delayed start this morning. You can see from this camera shot here. Don't adjust your sets. Everything's fine. It's just all of the sea fog and mist coming onto the circuit. From what we can gather in terms of lap times, it's not really affecting them. And there's Joe Thompson. They're taking the lead, number 74. Such a weekend for Joe Thompson. He came into the weekend 9th place overall in the championship. We've not seen him really threatening the podium thus far, but today could be the day where he gets himself onto the rostrum. He's just up ahead of the pink helmet there of Bradley Peary. Realistically speaking, the only rider that can take the championship away from Zach Corduroy, number 22. And it's Thompson and Peary that lead at the moment. Number 74 and number 97 as they swoop down into the corkscrew. In third place there is young Charlie Nesbitt, number 86, the rider on the Team Mini Moto Racing Aprilia, the rider from Swindon, in his first season of bike racing. And just behind him with the green wheels there and the white helmet is the championship leader overall, Zach Corduroy. If the flag was to go out now, Corduroy would lose a bit more in his championship, but Corduroy does tend to wait a couple of laps, wait for the tyres to get up to temperature before he really makes his move. He's not the best of starters, he never has been. In fact, you'd have to probably look back at all of the rounds and you struggle to find a single race where Zach Corduroy's got the whole shot. As they head onto the back straight here, well, it's not really a straight, it's more of a big bend, and already Corduroy's got out of the slipstream of Charlie Nesbitt. He moves up to third place and possibly has a look at Bradley Peary, who's got the tighter inside line. Here we are then, Joe Thompson it is that has the advantage ahead of Bradley Peary and Zach Corduroy. Charlie Nesbitt in 4th place, and well, Nesbitt, remember, still never had a race win to his name yet this season. He's been on the podium all year, never had a race win. Could today be his day? Thompson, who's leading, he was, but Bradley Peary goes up underneath him, has never had a podium. So an excellent opportunity. He was so close to taking a podium here yesterday in a race where he was in 1st place up until the last lap and ended up going across the line in 4th. The poor little chap was absolutely gutted. Well, it's sort of happening to him again here in this race. He was leading, he's just fallen back a bit here. He's just been beaten up by the 2 guys that are fighting for the championship. 97 there is your race leader, Bradley Peary, certainly having a tremendous weekend so far. Corduroy there in 2nd, perhaps looking a little hungrier than his team mentioned to me before. Yes, as I said at the start of the show, he was going for the cautious approach. Well, there's not a lot cautious going on there inside the helmet of Zach Corduroy, who's currently in 2nd place, and even number 86 there, Charlie Nesbitt, having a nibble as well. Nesbitt, what a future he'll have. He's only 12. Corduroy and Peary are hardly ancient. They've got big careers as well, and Corduroy's already made his move. A good move there, a block pass almost into Rocket In. He takes the lead, he manages to hold on as they flick right into Rocket Out, up towards Peel Corner now, and it is Corduroy that has the advantage from Bradley Peary. So 1st and 2nd in the championship are 1st and 2nd on circuit as they come down into the corkscrew. There is Nesbitt in 3rd place, and in 4th, Joe Thompson. Further back in 5th place is a good battle going on as Ross Simpson and Curtis Drew are fighting it out. Aaron Clifford's having a good weekend. Will Keynes starts well, but has just faded a little bit. And he's down in, well, he's inside the top 8. Tristan Finocchiaro's having a wonderful weekend. The newcomer, the half English, half Italian rider. Tristan, number 58. He's currently having a bit of a lonely race. He's got himself up ahead of Edmund Best and Jordan Boyle. Lewis Barnes is in this race as well, going well. Cameron Tenting-Jenkins, Daniel Drayton inside the points. Are female riders as well to look out for out there. Georgina Polden currently in line for a couple of points, and also Leanne Hunt currently in 21st place. But at the moment, this is the battle for the lead between Peary, number 97 with a pink helmet, and the white helmet and green wheeled Aprilia RS125 of Zach Corduroy. These Aprilia Super Teens, such a great bike. I had the opportunity to interview Ian Newton a couple of days ago with regards to the future of this. Of course, he's been involved right from the start, from the very moment that he quit racing himself. He's been involved in helping the youth of today go on to become superstars. He has witnessed and helped the likes of Stoner, Crutchlow, Chaz Davies, Tommy Hill, Camia, Toseland to the success stories that they are today. And he continues to do so at this very moment. And from what we can gather, these Aprilias have probably got about another 1 or 2 years left in them. There are talks at the moment and discussions with Aprilia going on about a possible replacement, because of course it seems that 4 strokes are the way forward. But as it stands, there's certainly nothing wrong with the racing here of the Aprilia 125, the RS production motorcycle. Cosmetically it's changed quite a lot, but the engine wise and chassis, not a lot different there. As you look at the 2 championship rivals side by side on the back school straight, and Peary it is with the outside line there, but that will give him the inside line up to Rocket, and he does take the lead. But it will give Corduroy the opportunity to bite back. Don't count out Nesbitt there in 3rd, really hungry to get his nose out there and in front. All of these guys have been so close to that lap record that is still held by Irishman Andy Reid. You'll have seen Andy picking up a couple of 125 GP wins at BSB recently, but in 2009 it was, he came to Anglesey, set the lap record in the Aprilia Super Teens, and to this day it still hasn't been beaten. Well, these guys are right on top of that time. They're just not quite sneaking under it at the moment. Good fight going on for the lead here, though, between Peary, Corduroy and Nesbitt. It is crucial that these guys stay on the seat, though. There's very rarely too much pushing and shoving that goes on between these riders. They normally keep it nice and clean. But at this crucial stage of the year, we've got 2 races coming up for you today here on Lotus TV. We've got 4 races at Mallory Park, 4 races at Donington Park to decide the overall champion. At the moment, Corduroy there in 2nd place with the green wheels is in line to take it. He has the big advantage. Peary has been having a wonderful weekend though, and at the moment it is Peary that leads. They come up into Rocket. They're just coming up to some traffic, actually, which might cause them a bit of a problem as they go into Rocket there. And oh my word, what on earth is going on there? That was an enormous crash, and Bradley Peary has wiped out one of the back markers, Miles Wastley. Now, oh, that was a horrendous crash. It's nice to see that they're both up and they're walking away. And Peary's just going over to make sure that he's okay. Wastley had no idea he was there. Now, what happened there? Basically, Peary, who was leading, had no idea how quickly he was closing up on Miles Wastley. Decided to try and go off the inside. It was too late. Wastley had already tipped in. Then Bradley decided to try and revert to the outside. That's just one of those unfortunate accidents that happens. You know, you have to put, if there's going to be anyone pointing fingers and there is any blame, then okay, you have to say probably it's Bradley's fault, but that was such a quick accident and he didn't have a lot of time to make his decision, and unfortunately for him it ends up with him in the gravel. He's up, he's walked away, but that is a massive dent to his championship chances, especially when Zach Corduroy is leading here, number 22. And alongside him though is Charlie Nesbitt, and Nesbitt might try and do a few favours for Bradley Peary, who will be over at the tyre wall watching this battle develop. Of course, Corduroy will have seen that, he'll have seen what happened, and as they tip through Rocket there, you can see the remains on the circuit from the paintwork of the Aprilia from where Bradley Peary's just gone down. I hope that hasn't just said goodbye to the championship race there that we've been seeing, because Peary really was looking in good shape this weekend, and well, he's lost out there. He will score no points. Of course, you cannot remount in Thundersport GB or in the Aprilia Super Teams. If you're off, you lose contact with that bike, that's it. Regardless as to whether the bike's in a decent state and you're healthy, you're not allowed to remount. So Peary will not rejoin, he will not score any points, and he'll be hoping desperately that Charlie Nesbitt, number 86, can get past Zach Corduroy here, and he does there, up into the banking, a really nice move. Corduroy left the door open there, and Charlie Nesbitt, all 3 feet of him, just nipped up the inside to take the race lead. Further back, I mean, this battle has been so good, we've not had a chance to see what's going on behind. Joe Thompson is in line now for his first ever podium. He's in 3rd place, and then we've got Ross Simpson, Curtis Drew and Aaron Clifford as the leaders just go past and lap Leanne Hunt there. Leanne has been actually in a bit of a battle of her own. Both her and David Ince came up with a little game for each other, currently 19th and 21st respectively on circuit. Whoever finishes ahead of who will have to wash the other one's bike this weekend. Well, I can tell you that there was some photographs of Leanne washing David's bike last night. We'll have to see if the gesture is returned, shall we say, by the end of play today. But this is the battle for the race win between Zach Corduroy, the championship leader, and Charlie Nesbitt. And as they go across the line there to complete another lap, they've got a bit of traffic. The last lap flag is out for these two guys, and Corduroy, whoa, look at that. They come up on David Ince, number 69, and Nesbitt wastes no time at all in going up the inside of Corduroy. And if Corduroy wants to win this, you know, all of that talk I had at the start about Corduroy playing it safe is all out of the window, isn't it? Look at this, he wants to win, and he's got it into Rocket at the moment. He leads from Nesbitt. Nesbitt's never had a race win in this class. Corduroy's had plenty this year. Corduroy, of course, started out as a newcomer last year, so maybe Nesbitt's year's coming in 2014, but Corduroy really will stick a nail in the coffin in terms of the championship here if he can hold on to it. Down into the corkscrew, there's just one chance left for Nesbitt, and I'm not sure he's going to be able to do it. Down into Club Corner, he had a look, oh, it's going to be close up to the line, but it's a short start finish straight here at Anglesey, and Corduroy takes it, and he is delighted. Well, that is a huge result in the context of this championship for Zach Corduroy. He's witnessed his championship rival go out of the race, and he's picked up the maximum 25 points. You've got a feel for Nesbitt, still without that overall race victory. He is the fastest of the newcomers and wins that race, and in fact he can be crowned Nitro Newcomer Champion at Mannory Park at our next event. Joe Thompson though, his first ever podium. Well done Joe, ahead of Ross Simpson, Curtis Drew, Aaron Clifford, Will Keynes, Tristan Finocchiaro, Ed Best and Jordan Boyle finishes in 10th place overall. Let's get a chat then with a couple of these riders. The winner of the newcomers there, little Charlie Nesbitt.
Third in the Nitro Newcomers, Edmund Best. Such a good race for you. You were battling with Jordan Boyle, but you managed to push through for a podium there.
Yeah, it was good. Tough battles, great ride from Jordan, but I luckily been able to get on front just for the last lap, so it's good.
Second in the Nitro Newcomers, Tristan. Such a good race for you. You were pulling away from the other Nitro Newcomers. How was the race for you?
Yeah, it was alright. I got a really good start, so I was happy with that. I was up with Ross, and then I thought I tried to stay with the front guys, but they were way too quick. And then I kept doing consistent lap times, and then towards the end, I saw 4 laps to go. I thought, all right, I'll slow down a bit, just so I don't crash or anything. I knew they were catching slightly, but I thought I didn't think they would catch me, and in the end it worked.
Winner of the Nitro Newcomers and second in the race overall, but only just Charlie. You missed out by 0.1 of a second in that race. I really feel gutted for you. How was the race for you? Can you tell us about it?
Yeah, it was just amazing, battling all the way through it. It's just so intense to say when you're battling, it's just amazing.
It feels good. Any sponsors you'd like to thank?
Yeah, I'd like to thank my granddad, Gloucester Bike Specialist, all my sponsors, Dunlop, Aprilia and Thundersport.
A 12-year-old feeling intense, eh? Let's catch up with the overall winners then. Zach Corduroy there on the top.
Third in the Super Teens, Joe Thompson. A good podium for you there, your first of the year. Do you plan on getting any more?
I'll try my hardest in the next race, but it's so hard to run up at the front. This is my first podium I've ever had, so hopefully I'll be getting some more. I would like to thank all my sponsors, Thompson's, Teesdale Motorcycles. I would like to thank Ange, my dad. A big thanks to my dad because he's done awesome putting up with me and stuff. Yeah, and my mum and everyone else, thanks very much.
Championship leader and winner of that race, Zach Corduroy. Like I said to Charlie, it was so close between you two. You won by 0.1 of a second. It's such a good race. Can you tell us about it?
Oh yeah, brilliant race. I mean, we're battling throughout it. A real shame that Brad crashed on the final few laps. Yeah, brilliant race.
Did you see Brad go down in front of you? Can you tell us what happened?
Well, the back marker in front of him, he went to make a move and, well, the back marker just pulled out in front of him and just hit him off.
Unfortunate, but have you got any sponsors you'd like to thank?
I like saying Cogasam, Pewterlin Oil, Machine Shack, and a massive thank you to my mum and dad, Thundersport, Aprilia and Dunlop.
Well, we'll see those guys, those youngsters out again in the second race, but join us again after the break for the in-competition Aprilia RRV 450s. Welcome back to North Wales and Anglesey. Hopefully the sea mist will be disappearing shortly, but on the grid here, the Aprilia RRV 450s, and on pole position there is Ross Twyman, number 15, alongside number 11, David Allingham, the Beemore Aprilia rider, championship leader. He can win it here today. Ben Luxton on the JDF Aprilia 450 having a great end to this season, and Louis Dawson certainly having an Indian summer in terms of championship results. He's fourth on the grid. He's looking to get himself on that podium and get himself that first ever victory. Well, someone from the second row there got an electric start, and I think that's Will Hodgson, number 14. A great start for him, and he's got the whole shot. It is Hodgson that leads as they come up towards the banking, but immediately biting back there is Ross Twyman, number 15. Ross has decided to ditch the black helmet and go for the white one. Apparently he's sick of me calling him Darth Vader, so he's got the white helmet for this weekend, and at least it makes him stand out a bit. It's Twyman that leads from Hodgson, and then David Allingham. Allingham with the white helmet and the lime green trim. Just in fourth place there, number 9 is Ben Luxton, and then the red, white and green helmet, number 34, is Louis Dawson. Not a lot to split these guys all season long, and what a move from Dawson there from about 5th to 2nd. In one foul swoop, it's unbelievable, this championship. We've had so many good races. It's almost impossible to believe that someone can win this championship here this weekend and become the first ever Thundersport champion of 2013, sorry, but it's just the way that David Allingham has ridden all weekend. Ross Twyman, however, is back to winning ways. Of course, we saw that wonderful race weekend for him at Donington Park at the start of the season. He's not been able to replicate that since. Well, not until yesterday anyway. He picked up a couple of decent results. He was back on the top step, and only he can prevent David Allingham from being crowned champion here today. I won't get into the nitty-gritty of the championship points right now. I'll save that for race 2 because it'll be more crucial then. But Ross Twyman, whatever happens, he's got to stay on the bike. He's got to ideally finish ahead of David Allingham. Allingham, there he is, number 11, the Irishman, looking to become the second Irishman to have won an Aprilia championship. You may remember back in 01 and 02, the Aprilia 125 championship, the Aprilia 250 championship, and then there was the Miele 1000cc championship, and Marshall Neal was double champion in that class in 01 and 02. That was the last time an Irishman was champion of any Aprilia championship. Of course, Andy Reid went very, very close in the Aprilia Super Teams in 09. But Allingham here today on the Beemore Aprilia looking really good. And look at these two at the front though, side by side. Ross Twyman 15 and number 34 Dawson. A really nice style from Louis Dawson. He's got so much more confidence and aggression in the latter stages of this season. Don't be fooled by the Ducati leathers, by the way. He's sponsored by Ducati Wolverhampton, but he is on an Aprilia, I can assure you of that. But good battling going on here. Allingham there just in third place. Twyman sweeps up the inside. Allingham said to me in an interview before the start of this race, you know, I'm not going to change any tactics. It's my riding style and my tactics that have got me into this position in the first place. What's the point in changing them now? I'll only make a mistake. But, well, I can tell you now that David's dad, Eddie, on pit wall, will be chewing the fingernails at the moment watching this, because David at the moment, in fact, look at that, oh, and he has a massive moment, David. He's making a move up into first place. He almost lost control of the bike, and he's been pumped down to fourth there, and he's got a couple of other bikes just hungry, waiting in the slipstream as well. I think Bradley Jones is one of those, and Alex Baker's making excellent progress through the field as well, but Ross Twyman will be delighted to see David Allingham going straight on there. All of these guys, remember, absolutely great buddies off circuit. I mean, you cannot separate them. They're always cracking jokes. They are, of course, ex-super teams, so they are the little nuisance riders that used to be pedalling around on push bikes and throwing hay bales around. Well, they're all still very good friends, but there's championship at stake here, and David Allingham desperate to try and win it. Real Hodgson goes up ahead of him. There's Will, number 14, and Bradley Jones there, really close, number 75 to the back wheel of David Allingham, but it's Louis Dawson that leads this one ahead of Ross Twyman. Ben Luxton in third. I tell you what, I'm going to start calling Ben Luxton the silent assassin. He's got a very smooth riding style. He's come on leaps and bounds the second half of this season, but he just turns up when you least expect him to, and he waits for mistakes, he waits for the errors from other riders. He's quick enough, he's putting in just as quick lap times as anyone else, but he doesn't perhaps go for as many risky manoeuvres as some of the riders around him. But more often than not in this class, guys are tripping each other up, and the silent assassin there in third place at the moment is well worth looking out for. Louis Dawson, though, it is that leads, and this would be his first win in this class. Ross Twyman in second has had a handful of victories. He's second overall in the championship, of course, the former Super Team rider. Ben Luxton from Stockport there in third, in the JDF colours as usual. And it looks to me like those two or three are just starting to break away at the front. The Beemore Aprilia rider, number 11, David Allingham, still there in fourth place. Will Hodgson in fifth. And then there's a bit of a gap, and it's only very small, between Bradley Jones, who just has a look over his shoulder and sees the red blade Aprilia 450 of Alex Baker. Further back, Gideon Thomas 8th, George Stanley in 9th. George having a good weekend here. Reese Hutchinson 10th. Keenan Armstrong, Dean Court is out there. Dean's not having perhaps as good a weekend as he was expecting. He's really struggling with pace this weekend as Ross Twyman regains the lead, and Allingham moves up into third place now ahead of Ben Luxton. Dean Court, as I mentioned, Sam Wilford. Sam's limping about a bit at the moment. I think he'll be having a trip to the medical centre after this race weekend, because he's limping around quite a bit. He's got a bit of a swollen ankle from an accident this weekend. Sam, of course, one of the riders whose father was a sidecar champion, and he actually travels from Germany for every single race weekend. He lives in Dortmund with his mum, but he travels to England for the racing. So he definitely has the furthest to travel. When you consider we've got riders from Oban in Scotland, and obviously plenty of riders over from Ireland, That's saying something. We've got Ryan McAdam back out there with us as well. Nice to have Ryan back in the paddock. Sam Edwards, Matt Rangeley, and Joe Thompson, who we just saw in the Aprilia Super Teams a moment ago, finishing third, getting his first podium. Just having a taste of life on a 450 at the moment. He's lapping towards the rear end at the moment. He's not a million miles off in terms of the pace, but maybe that's an indication as to where he might be going next year. At the front, though, it's still Ross Twyman that leads, or is it? Yes! Oh, wow! David Allingham went to go up the inside of his championship rival, Ross Twyman, whacked the back wheel because Ross closed the door, and how on earth has David Allingham stayed on the machine? The championship leader was nearly out. His championship, oh, wow. This race hanging by a thread for Allingham. If he'd have lost control of that, that would have been him gone. But, well, he's gone from challenging for the win to, well, where is he? Let's see him go through. He looks like he's just filtered in between 75, Brad Jones, and number 22, Alex Baker there. So he'll be down in 6th place. That leaves Ross Twyman out front, Louis Dawson in second. No, yeah, Ross Twyman in front, Louis Dawson second. That's Ben Luxton in third and Will Hodgson in 4th place. I think the best that David Allingham can hope from this race now is a 5th place finish, because even if he's able to get past Bradley Jones, there's a bit of a gap now forming at the front here. Ross Twyman it is with the lead, but already pulling out of the slipstream is the young man looking for his first ever Aprilia 450 win. Louis Dawson from Bridgnorth, the Ducati Wolverhampton sponsored rider. Nice move there from Louis Dawson, number 34. Do you know what, Louis, literally, as soon as he sees just the slightest the doors open, he barges his way through. It's a bit Marquez-esque, I've got to say. Wonderful to see this aggressive approach from Louis. He deserves all the credit he gets at the moment, really is. Turning out to be a very talented rider indeed. We already know about Ross Twyman. Ross, number 15, Canterbury. He had the best weekend of his life at Donington. He then went a bit off the rails. I don't think he'll mind me saying that. It just didn't really go. I think the pressure got to him of being championship leader. Lost out a couple of rounds, and it's only been realistically, well, to be fair, even at Rockingham he had a bit of bad luck. So it's just nice to see him back on the top step with a smile on his face. Ben Luxton, who's been in the Aprilia Championships now for a few years. This year, really, he's grown quite a lot, but he's just grown into that bike. It's working out a treat. And there you see a battle between Ross Twyman and Ben Luxton. Louis Dawson it is that leads still low. This would be a great result for Dawson if he can keep it up there, but Ben Luxton moves ahead of Ross Twyman. We're getting to the closing stages of this race now, and the silent assassin is getting down to business. You don't want to be, statistics say that on the final lap of this race, you don't want to be the leader, but you don't want to be 4th either, because it's so difficult to overtake and everyone's going for the win. It's better to be in 2nd or 3rd place as you're going into the last lap. Ben Luxton here is getting closer and closer. He goes across the start-finish line, and it is Ben Luxton in 2nd at the moment behind Louis Dawson. Dawson desperate for that first race win. Last lap flag is out, and Luxton's in a good place here. Ross Twyman's also going to be looking dangerous in 3rd, and Will Hodgson there in 4th. Don't count out Kamikaze Will. If he has a sniff at this, he'll definitely have a go at it. The only problem with Will at the moment, he's just struggling on the exit here of Church, just to stay with these guys. I wonder if he's a bit down on power, but he's not able to pounce on them just yet, and Ben Luxton is taking advantage of it, and the silent assassin is doing it on the JDF Aprilia. He's got out front, but Louis Dawson fights back through and moves up into the lead, into Rocket In, and now here comes Ross Twyman, but around the outside, what a move from Ben Luxton, and Dawson almost falls as a result of that. Ross Twyman sneaks up into 2nd as well. Well, a bit of aggression there from Ben Luxton, and what a time to do it on the final lap. Do you know what? I don't think anyone's going to have an answer for this. These guys have been on lap record pace all weekend, and Ben Luxton, having had such a spectacular Rockingham, it looks like he's going to win it here as well in Anglesey. He tips into Club Corner, and the JDF rider is successful. What a win for Ben Luxton. He takes the 25 points ahead of Ross Twyman, and crucially, Ross Twyman picks up a big bunch of points to try and prevent Allingham from winning the championship here today. Louis Dawson has to settle for 3rd, having led the vast majority of this race. And in 4th place is Will Hodgson. Allingham does come across the line in 5th. Ahead of Bradley Jones, Alex Baker 7th, Gideon Thomas, a good result for number 67. Keep an eye out for him in the future. George Stanley, of course, his first year as well in 9th. And Reece Hutchinson, good result there in 10th place, but a good win for Ben Luxton. Deserved that. Brilliant racing here from the in-competition Aprilia RRV 450s, and we've got more to come. Let's have a word with all 3 of them then. Luxton the winner, ahead of Twyman and Dawson.
3rd position goes to Louis Dawson. We saw you got your first podium at Rockingham and you're back on the podium again here at Anglesey. A really good race for you.
Yeah, it was a mad race. Like, all of us just wanted that top step, but it's unfortunate I couldn't get it at the end, but pretty happy with 3rd.
And could you feel the pressure from Will Hodgson in 4th? I mean, all 4 of you were battling in that one.
I think everyone just wanted it, and obviously Will's always up there, so yeah, everyone.
2nd position, Ross Twyman. All 4 of you were battling in that one, and you managed to pull through for a second after, unfortunately, you had some bike issues at Rockingham, but it's looking up for you this weekend.
Yeah, well, at Rockingham we had to sort of, like, the bike went wrong and we had to borrow another bike, so I'd like to say thank you very much to Alex Baker and his dad for that. But yeah, no, this race, everyone, like Louis said, everyone wanted that first place, and it was all so close, and like Will in 4th, like just nipping at our heels, and you know, Ben, and is just really, really good, really.
Ben Luxton, the winner of that race, just tell us how you pulled through on that one. That was such a close race.
Yeah, it was such a close race. I just stopped in 3rd, and I knew Will was right behind us, and I was just waiting for the move and going up into the hairpin. I just saw Lou was just offline a bit, so I just nipped in and got through past him, so it was a really good race, yeah.
Really good. And we saw you got your first win at Rockingham and another win again here at Anglesey. Do you think the year's looking up for you?
Yeah, it's going a lot better now this second half of the year. I'm really enjoying it, yeah.
Any sponsors you'd like to thank?
Yeah, Stephen Cowan at Systematic Instruments, Damien at Decomed, Dave at High Fibre, John JDF, my team, everyone that helped me out, mum, dad, grandma, everyone, cheers.
Some brilliant racing here from Anglesey, and we've still got 2 more to come. Join us again after the break for race 2 in the Aprilia Super Teens. Welcome back to Anglesey in North Wales for the Aprilia Super Teens Race 2. Bradley Peary there, well, thumbs down, yeah. Unfortunately, that accident in Race 1 means that he's got a bit of work to do here. Charlie Nesbitt was so close to that first ever race win earlier on. Zach Corduroy is on cloud number 9. There he is, 3rd on the grid, championship leader. And Joe Thompson, first ever podium in Race 1. Can he go 1 or 2 steps better in Race 2? Looks like we're ready to go. Green flag at the back. And here we go for the Aprilia Super Teens. It's a really good start there on the inside from Joe Thompson, and coming through from the 2nd row, that is Curtis True, I think, number 101 with the bright yellow and black leathers. It's Nesbitt in 2nd, so Thompson leads. Not for long though, up the inside, there goes Charlie Nesbitt. Great move from young Charlie. So Nesbitt leads now from Thompson and Drew. What a start for Drew. Peary's in 4th place, I think. Corduroy's in 5th. Or maybe lower. He didn't get off to a great start as usual. Will Keynes is then in 6th place. And I think it's Ross Simpson in 7th. Ross Simpson a bit off the boil this weekend. Simpson on his day, capable of challenging Peary and Corduroy for race wins. He's got one of the finest riding styles in the paddock, but this weekend just not quite coming together for him. It's Nesbitt that leads from Peary, and Corduroy around the outside of Joe Thompson and moves up into 3rd place. Curtis Drew has just been bumped down to 5th, but number 101, this is much better from him. Curtis, we saw a lot of him at the start of the season, the rider from Cirencester, and another one of the riders sponsored by Team Minimoto Racing, just like Charlie Nesbitt. Good little rider is Curtis, slightly older than Charlie Nesbitt, but that makes no difference. I'm expecting good things from him next year. There is Nesbitt though, what a future he has. Minimoto Racing in Spain already to his name, and at just 12, well, you heard him in the interview in Race 1, it was intense, he said. Race 1. Well, I think we're about to see another intense battle going on here, because he's got Zach Corduroy, the championship leader, going all the way around the outside of him at banking. It's a great move there, executed by Corduroy. Nesbitt took a tight line to defend his first place, but he went in a bit too slow, and Corduroy said, well, I'll go around the outside then. And Peary there in third place. Peary really has got no choice. If he wants to win this championship, he's got to win these races, and he's got to hope that Corduroy slips up somewhere. Joe Thompson is looking strong still in fourth place, and then that's Curtis Drew in fifth, Ross Simpson in seventh, and then I think it's the young Irish Super Team champion from last year, Aaron Clifford, just behind Simpson. But it's Corduroy now that leads from Bradley Peary, so Nesbitt's been a bit beaten up there. As we've seen so many times this year, you can be leading going into one corner and then you can be third or fourth coming out of it, and that's what's happened to Nesbitt there. And Nesbitt's actually coming under a bit of pressure here from Joe Thompson up into club corner. So Nesbitt just needs to regroup. These guys are really close to the lap record. It's still not been beaten. Andy Reid's lap time of a 1:16.534 is the time to beat, and these guys are doing 1:16.6s at the moment and 1:16.7s, so maybe it'll go later on in the race, but at the moment out front this is not how Bradley Peary needs it to be. Zach Corduroy it is that leads, Bradley Peary there in second place. Peary though lining up a move here, he's swooping over to the left. That may seem odd because it looks like the outside, but it gives him the inside line up into Rocket. And Corduroy's left the door open here, and Bradley Peary up the inside. Oh my word, that's close between these two, and oh, it's side by side, and Peary's gone down! Peary has gone out of this race! Oh, there was a coming together there between Zach Corduroy and Peary, and he cannot believe it. I've got to say, I think that might just be championship over for Peary. That's a shame. It's a racing incident, there's not a lot in that, I've got to say that. It's not a lot in it, it's very tight into Rocket Inn, and Corduroy naturally had to swoop around into the right to make it to the right-hander. I don't think there was any malicious intent in that. Whoa, well, there we have it. That's a massive moment for this year's championship, and Zach Corduroy, well, having come into today knowing that he had to get some results and just finish the races because Peary was on form, or Peary's thrown it down the road twice now. I wouldn't necessarily say it was Peary's fault either, certainly not saying that. Very unfortunate for him on both occasions, but there we go, that's racing for you. And, well, anything can still happen between now and the end of the season, and it usually does in the Aprilia Super Teams, but this is a massive advantage for Zach Corduroy, who leads this race by quite a distance. Second place at the moment is Joe Thompson, number 74, so as it stands, he is going to go one better. Charlie Nesbitt in third, there he is, number 86, and then Ross Simpson up into fourth, number 95, Curtis Drew, fifth, number 101, and then it's 19 with the sky blue wheels there. That is Aaron Clifford, who won the Aprilia Super Team Championship in Ireland, the Irish Super Team champion. Came over to this championship to fight against these guys, and he's out of a couple of rounds through injury, but certainly been very strong the last few rounds. Nice to have him in the mix here. Across the start-finish line we go. Zach Corduroy it is that leads. He's got a, I wouldn't say it's an enormously comfortable advantage, but it's the best part of a second that he's got over now Charlie Nesbitt, who moves ahead of Joe Thompson. Thompson just left the gap open a bit down into the banking, and he has a big look over his shoulder and sees a queue of 125s waiting behind him, including Ross Simpson, number 95, and number 101, Curtis Drew. Onto the back straight, and that's some good drive there from Ross Simpson as he tries to tuck in up behind Joe Thompson. There's Jordan Boyle, number 37, one of the newcomers. Currently Jordan is up inside the top 8. And Jordan's another one of those riders, number 37 from Verwood, a Nitro newcomer for this year. I think we're going to see something special from him next year. He needs probably another year in the Super Teams, but he'll be a contender. Look out for him. I know that him and his dad are a bit unsure as to what avenue to go down for next season. They've been thinking about a 450, but it might just be a year too soon. Another year in the Super Teams, and he could be up with the likes of Corduroy, who was in a similar stage to Jordan this time last year, but look at him now. He is looking pretty good. He has a big look over his shoulder as he goes across the line there and tips into target. Now he's got to play this one really cool, because if he goes on to win this race, by my maths, he'll have a lead of over 100 points with 200 available. And that is a massive, massive lead and a huge, comfortable advantage for him. Charlie Nesbitt, though, since he's got past Joe Thompson, has really pulled it out, and he's trying to close up. You know, Nesbitt's still looking crucially for that first ever race win, and he is closing down. You know, there's Aaron Clifford just going around the outside of Curtis Drew, and he moves up into 5th place. So he's now just got a couple of riders to get past in order to try and grab himself a podium. He's just behind Joe Thompson there, who's having a decent battle himself with Ross Simpson. There's Miles Wassley, they're just putting a lap on him. Simpson going up the inside, the rest around the outside. Miles Wassley, a complete novice to motorcycle racing. The young rider from Stonehouse on the Aqua Construction Aprilia. But it's amazing how some of these riders progress. There's Aaron Clifford again, number 19. At the front of this one, it's still Zach Corduroy. Oh my word, and I can tell you that Charlie Nesbitt has just gone across the line. Look how much he's closed in on the race leader. Charlie Nesbitt has broken the lap record, folks. Andy Reid has held on to that lap record since 2009. It was a 1:16.534 the Irishman had. Charlie Nesbitt, a 1:16.516. The 12-year-old newcomer has got the new lap record, and I can tell you he will be delighted with that. He's just got one more thing to do now, and that's win this race. He's got to try and close down onto the tail of Zach Corduroy, and you know what, he is doing it. Joe Thompson, meanwhile, wants another podium. He's had a taste of one, he wants another. He's trying to challenge there. Ross Simpson, Aaron Clifford and Curtis Drew are still in the hunt for that as well. A bit further back, Will Keynes desperately trying to go up, and we've got another rider down there. That, I think, is on the Exeter Church, and that looks like Tristan Finocchiaro, because he's not come round. Finocchiaro, who's having a great weekend, unfortunately has gone down, and he's walking back. That's a long old walk back to the tyre wall, I can tell you. So unfortunately for Tristan Finocchiaro, he's gone down. So at the moment, the top 3 in the newcomers are Nesbitt, Boyle and Lewis Barnes. Number 50 is going to pick up a trophy. There is further back, you can see the likes of Kai Masters, etc. trying to pick up their points in this championship. They're just a few places behind Georgina Polden, who's having a good weekend. Leanne Hunt is currently just behind David Ince, so it looks like she'll be washing his bike again. But here we go down into... There's Georgina Polden, number 27. I'll have to double check actually, because her brother Craig used to race, and I'm almost certain that he used to race with number 27, but I'll have to double check on that. I'll ask them. But she's come straight from motocrossing into road racing, and originally it was supposed to be just a little tester to see how she fared, but she loves it, so it's great to see her out there picking up some decent points. She's having a good battle there with Daniel Drayton. That's for 12th and 13th, and they're both ahead of Aidan Walker at the moment and Thomas Burnett, that's taking up the final point. Meanwhile, at the front of this, Corduroy, who looked home and dry, is under a bit of pressure here from Charlie Nesbitt, the new lap record holder. Here we are looking at the battle for 12th and 13th between number 34, Daniel Drayton, on the Drayton 34 racing machine, the rider from Scunthorpe, and Georgina from Oxford on the King's Two-Wheel Centre Aprilia. I can tell you also at Georgina Polden, there's the Buff Women's Championship going on at Thundersport GB, where we have a lot of lady riders at Thundersport, and they're all picking up points. I'm not quite sure how the point system works, but I can tell you that Jenny Tinmouth was leading coming into this event, although she's not here. Charlie Oakland second, and Georgina Polden was in 3rd place ahead of Harriet Drury and Leanne Hunt and Robin Mapp and Robin Lindsay. So some points on offer here for Georgina in the Buff Women's Championship. Meanwhile, further back there, you can see Joe Thompson is back in a podium position. Aaron Clifford has moved up into 4th place. Curtis Drew has just been bumped down a couple of places there. And look at the front there, there's Zach Corduroy and there's Charlie Nesbitt. Nesbitt is after his first victory. He's already taken the lap record, but now he's going for his first ever race win. Nesbitt, who only needs to finish at Mallory Park in the first race to be crowned the Nitro Newcomer champion. He only needs a few points to close in on Ross Simpson for 3rd overall, and as they come across the start-finish line, my, this is close, but they just, oh, poor old Charlie, he just misses out. And that's such a shame for him, you know. But Zach Corduroy, what a day it has been for him. Number 22, the rider from Blueberry. Such a great place to come from. Blueberry rider has taken it. That was 69 hundredths of a second across the line there. The gap between Corduroy, championship leader, and Charlie Nesbitt. A good day out there for Corduroy in terms of the championship. Nesbitt, lap record holder. Thompson, another podium. Well, you wait for your first and two come along. There's Clifford in fourth, Keynes fifth, Simpson sixth ahead of Jordan Boyle. Curtis Drew is 8th place, Lewis Barnes in an excellent 9th, and Ed Best in 10th. Championship standings then, look at that, some serious damage has been done here today. Zach Corduroy, a 108-point lead going into Mallory Park. I'm not sure anyone's going to be able to do anything about that. No matter what happens over in Leicestershire, Corduroy will enter the final round as the championship leader and possibly even the champion. Nesbitt closes in to Ross Simpson, just 10 points behind. Here he is then, smile on his face. Let's find out if this one was intense for Charlie Nesbitt.
Lewis Barnes, 3rd position in the Nitro Newcomers. Judging by that smile on your face, you must be chuffed with that result. It's your first podium. You must be pleased with that. Can you tell us about the race?
I'm very happy about the race. It went really well. The bike didn't miss a beat. Just a really good race, really.
Jordan Boyle, 2nd in the Nitro Newcomers. A close race for you there. Can you tell us what happened?
Yeah, I was just, I knew someone was behind me. I was just like trying to cover my lines the whole way round. Yeah.
Charlie, a double Nitro Newcomer win and 2nd position again for you there. Just missing out to Zach again. How was the race for you?
It was just amazing. It's just, I'm getting closer and closer every race. It's just so much fun.
And the lap record here at Anglesey, you must really like it here.
Yeah, I'm chuffed to bits. I just don't know what to say, really.
Have you got any sponsors you'd like to thank?
Yeah, I'd like to thank my dad, my granddad, my mum, James at Gloucester Bike Specialist, and all the rest.
Remember the name, Charlie Nesbitt. Let's catch up with Joe then in 3rd and Zach the overall winner.
Joe Thompson, 3rd position overall, and another podium for you here this weekend. You must be pleased with that.
Yeah, it's been a really good weekend. I've never had a podium before, apart from the first race on Monday today. We took 2 trophies home, so I'm really pleased. I'd just like to say a big thanks to my dad, because he's done a really good job on my bike. I'd like to thank all the rest of my sponsors, Teesdale Motorcycles, Thompson's Fish Restaurants, Derek at Magtune for building me an amazing fast engine. I'd like to say a big thanks to Ange and Georgina for supporting me.
Zach Corduroy, winner of the race and your 2nd win today. You must be chuffed with that, and plus you're pushing the points up in the championship because unfortunately Brad came out of the race again. Can you tell us what happened?
Well, coming up the back straight and into that left, coming out of it, we kind of like collided. His bar got stuck in my frame and like lost the front.
You were lucky to stay on for that one.
Yeah, I ran a bit wide but kept my line.
And you got a win. Have you got any sponsors you'd like to thank?
I'd like to thank Mum and Dad, brother and sister, Josh and Richard for coming and supporting me, Putlin Oil, Machine Shack, Thundersport, Aprilia and Dunlop.
Well, great racing from the super teams. They'll be back at Mallory, but we've still got one more race here. Join us again after the break for race 2 in the 450. Here we go then, the Aprilia RRV 450 is sponsored by In Competition. In Competition, of course, is Ian Newton, the man behind the Aprilia super teams, and the man that's made it all tick anyway, and him along with the likes of Dave Stewart, Thundersport Sid, managed to come up with the idea of this 450 class a few years ago. What a success it has been. The long overdue replacement for the iconic RS 250 challenge, and these 450 bikes have provided us with some fascinating racing over the last few years, and we could crown a champion here in this race. Number 11 there, David Allingham. It's another good start from the 2nd row by Will Hodgson. He's looking to get the whole shot. He's going to go around the outside into target ahead of David Allingham. Now the situation is here for Allingham, just so you know, he needs to finish ahead of number 15, Ross Twyman, and collect 3 more points than Ross in order to win the championship. And just as I say that, Ross and David almost wipe each other out of the race altogether. That would be enough for Ross if he was able to do that, but I don't think that's really part of the plan. There's Joe Thompson again, having just collected his first ever podiums. Very happy, and he's out there to play in the 450s. David Allingham, then, he knows what he's got to do. Whatever happens, he's got to finish ahead of Ross Twyman, and it's got to be by more than 3 points. Of course, the easiest way to do it is to win the race. If you do that, then you're guaranteed the championship. Ross Twyman there, though, has just been bullied out of third place and drops down to fourth. It's still Will Hodgson in second there, and Ben Luxton in third. The race 1 winner, of course, from earlier on. Ross Twyman in fourth. There's Ross, number 15. Ross is acutely aware of the situation points-wise. I managed to catch him in between races, and he said, yeah, I already know what I've got to do, but, you know, it's just carnage. These races are absolutely carnage. David Allingham, though, all throughout the season, I think the major damage has been done by David. It was across 3 rounds. I think it was Snetterton, Alton and Cadwell. Across those 3 rounds is where all the damage was done by David, including a couple of double points race wins. He won 10 out of 11 races and just completely destroyed his opponents. Don't get me wrong, it's not over till it's over, and he's still got to get the job done here, but he would dearly love to leave Anglesey as the Aprilia RRB 450 champion. He came into Super Teens in 2011 as a newcomer. His height was a bit of a problem for him, but he did pick up a couple of wins. He finished as second in the newcomers behind Joe Francis, who's currently leading the Moto3 championship at BSB level. He then went into the 450 class last year, led the championship after round 1, but got himself injured. And then at the start of this year, he entered the season with a broken collarbone and led the championship, I think it was from round 3 onwards, and has just not looked back. And, well, as I said before, as it stands at the moment, he would be champion. Now you're just looking at the battle for 4th and 5th between Louis Dawson and Ross Twyman. So Twyman crucially down in 5th place at the moment. That's not ideal for him and the championship. But all of these riders are so talented. Nice to have Cameron Lee out there on the grid this time around. Cameron didn't make it out for race 1, got some bike problems there, number 58. Cameron's a great rider to have around in the paddock on the Motrack Racing Aprilia, rider from Colville, always a character, and nice to have Cameron back out in this race, and battling away at the moment inside the top 10. It's Will Hodgson that has the lead ahead of David Allingham. Will from Wigan, number 14 on the Ron Hodgson Cars Aprilia. A rider that knows these 450s better than anyone. He was one of the development riders that first got the chance to ride an Aprilia 450 here at Anglesey, and I think it was 2009, maybe, no, 2009. He was one of the first riders to get the chance to ride this Aprilia 450, and he's been on them ever since. He's won a couple of races, maybe not as many as he'd like to. He gets annoyed when I mention his age, because he's slightly older than the rest, but that doesn't mean he's old, because he's younger than me. It's just that some of these teenagers around him, obviously coming straight up from the Super Teens, but he's able to fight with them, and at the moment he leads ahead of David Allingham and Ben Luxton, race 1 winner, number 9 there in 3rd. Slight gap back to 4th, that's Louis Dawson, and then another little gap when you'll find Ross Twyman, Bradley Jones, Alex Baker. George Stanley's got off to a better start as well, he's up in the top 8, so not bad going for him, but at the moment, all things going relatively well for David Allingham, who takes the lead of this race. He has this remarkable ability to control races, David. He didn't have so much fun in race 1 earlier. That was a bit edgy. I would imagine that won't have done Edward's heart any favours. Edward, his dad. Ironically, I mentioned in race 1 about the last Irish Aprilia Championship champion, Marshall Neal. Ironically, David Allingham's dad was Marshall Neal's sponsor at that time. And, well, look what's happened. 12 years later, his son is about to become the next Irishman to win an Aprilia Championship. It's amazing, isn't it? Such a small world, and even smaller paddocks. David Allingham at the moment leading this race, leading the championship, and he will be crowned champion if the flag goes out now. Ben Luxton in second there. I called him the silent assassin in race 1. He could well spring a surprise later on in this race. Louis Dawson has now pounced ahead of Ross Twyman, as I mentioned, he's up ahead of Ross and trying to chase down Will Hodgson, and he pulls out of the slipstream of Ross here. He's going to try and go around the outside, and just like we saw earlier, that will give him the inside line into Rocket. There's enough room there, he's left him a gap, bang, he's taken it. Louis Dawson up into third place, and he's made it count. No such dramas with the two clashing, unlike the super teens that we saw just before the break. Allingham at the moment looking very, very good. He's had 13 Aprilia 450 wins so far this season. Let's hope it's not unlucky for David, because win number 14 would crown him the champion. Last year's Aprilia 450 champion, of course, Callan Cooper, making a name for himself in the British Superstock 600 Championship at the moment, having got his first ever win. And not long to go in this race here. Year before that, James Folcard won the championship, and he's about to embark on some Spanish riding. So usually most of the riders that come out of this championship in the top two places go on to some great things. There is number 9, Ben Luxton, who really is coming on very well indeed, and that'll be a tough decision for them next year as to what to do with Ben, because if he stays in the 450s, he is without doubt a championship rival, or certainly one of the title favourites. But he's been in the Aprilias for a while now, so it'll be interesting to see what they do. Louis Dawson's moved up into second, so Dawson up into second now, looking to desperately move up into the top 3 overall. Well, sorry, first place overall, I should say. He's still looking for that first win. The only man that I didn't speak to between Aprilia 450 races with regards to the championship points was David Allingham. His dad, Edward, told me that he'd rather it was just kept quiet from him. He'll probably know himself anyway, he knows what he's got to do. But everybody else is aware of the situation. I would imagine David will have some idea. He will know that a win here, and that will do it. What a way to win the championship as well. It's one thing just staying on the bike, taking third or fourth, finishing ahead of Ross and claiming the championship, but to go out there, take the bull by the horns and win the race outright, just to be absolutely 100% sure, would be something else. And at the moment his lap times are suggesting that he's capable of doing that. He's not the fastest out there. That goes to Louis Dawson. Just to give you an idea as to how closely matched these riders are, Allingham's fastest lap, a 1:12.34. Dawson, 1:12.31. Luxton, 1:12.33. And then it's Hodgson, 1:12.54. Ross Twyman, 1:12.52. Bradley Jones, 1:12.64. Alex Baker, 1:12.58. It's just incredible how close these guys are from race to race, and it's only down to the fact that, well, it's down to 2 factors as to why David Allingham's in this position. One, he's ridden superbly, and he rarely finishes out of the top 3 in any race, and he's stayed on the saddle. 2, other riders have slipped up around him. David Allingham, as we speak, and I hope I'm not giving him the commentator's curse, is the only rider in the field to have finished every single race this year. That is a Troy Bayliss way of winning a championship. But the thing is, it's not just consistency. He's won so many. He's won more races than anyone else as well. He's just deserved the championship. There is further back a battle going on between 93 and 77. Matt Randley and Ryan McAdam. Both of those guys looking to get themselves in the points. So yeah, Allingham never not finished a race, shall I say. In fact, his worst result of the season was 5th place at Donington Park and the 5th place earlier on. So, great stuff from Allingham, and if he does end up taking the championship, he thoroughly deserves it. And then it'll just be a battle, of course, for 2nd, 3rd and 4th between the likes of Twyman, Bradley Jones, Hodgson, Lewis Rollo. I should just mention Lewis Rollo. I know I mentioned him at the top of the show, but he was looking on it. He was so fast, the Aprilia Super Team champion of last year on the 450 at Rockingham last time out. But he's looking amazing at the moment. There's 2/10 of a second between the top 7 in terms of lap times at the moment. And the last lap flag is out, so this is the moment. This is the moment for David Allingham. He looks so smooth. I've said in an article, he's got a touch of the Laverties about him, and in particular Eugene. He's got a similar riding style to Eugene, and I'm not just saying that because he's Irish. It's similar, and Eugene's even been congratulating David Allingham on Twitter. So I'm sure Eugene will be delighted to see the Irishman take this championship. At the moment it's looking like Dawson and Luxton will fight it out for second and third, and Ross Twyman is down in 5th place, so it's just looking like it's going to belong to David Allingham. He will win 14 races, and what a year it has been for him. He started the season disappointingly with a collarbone break 2 weeks before the start of the season. He overcame that. He was on the podium. He started winning races, and here today he picks up win number 14, and he is the 2013 champion. Ah, boy, oh boy, does he deserve that, and he knows it as well. The job is done, and he will have 2 rounds of just pure fun now, and he can't believe it. Such a lot of hard work. He's got a new sponsor for this year, Be More, and they will be delighted with him. So much hard work and effort been put in by David and his dad, Edward, and of course all of the family and friends that come along to support him. He wins, and he wins the championship. Louis Dawson takes second. That's a great result for Louis. We shouldn't overlook that. Ben Luxton third, ahead of Will Hodgson, Ross Twyman, Bradley Jones, Alex Baker. George Stanley in 8th, ahead of Rhys Hutchinson and Cameron Lee, as the cameraman pops around the corner of the camera just to give the lens a bit of a clean. Allingham is the champion then, Twyman second, Bradley Jones in 3rd place, ahead of Will Hodgson, Ben Luxton, Rollo, who hopefully, fingers crossed, will be back for Mallory Park and Donington Park at the end of the season. But today is all about David Allingham. Let's have a look at the guys on the podium then. The top 3, we'll hear from all 3 of them, but it's all about one man really, isn't it? D-Bomb, the champion.
Ben Luxton, 3rd position there, a good result for you. We're seeing you more and more on the podium. The year's really looking up for you. How did you feel after that race?
Yeah, definitely. It was a really good race. Everyone was so fast on the pace, but yeah, I'm glad to be on the podium again. It's really good keeping up the points and that, yeah.
2nd position, Louis Dawson. Again, like we said to Ben, it was a close race, and we're seeing you more and more on the podium near the end of the year. You must feel brilliant after that.
Yeah, I'm buzzing after that. I mean, everyone's so quick in this class, and it just feels good that all my hard work's kind of paid off, and yeah, I'm pretty happy.
Race winner and now championship winner, David Allingham. We saw it coming all year, and you've just cemented it now in the best way with the race win. Can you, if you can, put into words, how do you feel right now?
Oh, it's just been amazing, buzzing from it. Like all year, me and Rory's been putting on hard work. Me and my dad, Ian, everybody who supported me has just been putting on so much hard work, and it's great just to come back with a championship. And that's it. I can chill out now in this class, but I still want to try 1 races, but in the other class and stuff to try to go for the one for that. But unbelievable, yeah, buzzing from it.
And how do you feel going into the next few rounds? Because there's still 2 rounds to go. You've won it with 2 rounds to go, but what do you think your aim is for the next 2 rounds?
I don't really care anymore, just chill out. Obviously, no, that's like, obviously I'm still going to go for the one. I'd like to still be the man at the very end. I don't want people coming on and starting to beat me in the last couple of rounds and then saying, oh well, they got a bit fluke at the start of the year. I'm still going to go for the one every race, not going to change it. But yeah, having a son, I'll be happy all year, yeah.
Well, they all best look out. Any sponsors you'd like to thank that have helped you this year?
I'd like to thank a massive thank you to Be More Aprilia, Silkland, Bridgestone, Ian Newton, my dad, EHA Group, Jane, Gio, Paul, Laura, Alison, Lauren, everybody, thank you very much for coming over this weekend, and a big massive thank you to my brother coming this weekend, and also my mechanic Roy Grimes, who's done everything this year. But my dad and Gail especially, because they put so much hard work on them, and it's just paid off. Thank you very much.
Well, remember the name. Ireland has a new talent, David Allingham. Thanks for joining us here in North Wales. We'll see you at Mallory next month.